Good afternoon, folks. The night before last, I was in CVS buying some denture adhesive. Approximately 8:30 p.m. There was a female police officer behind me in line. We're practicing the social distancing. You know, they have the lines taped on this floor. So I was staying 6 feet behind her. There was a fellow in line 6 feet behind her. I mean, I was staying 6 feet in front of her. Or she was staying 6 feet behind me. There was a fellow behind her. As I was paying, and I had to use my phone to pay with the app, so I wasn't able to film anything. And besides, I think CVS has a policy against filming inside the store. But there was a fellow behind her who started questioning why she had a dozen bottles of Purell when they had a 2-item limit on hand sanitizer. And then after I paid, I'm on my way out the door when CVS rang her up for the dozen bottles of Purell. And this guy was actually up behind her at the register, harassing the CVS employee for allowing her to violate the policy as far as how many bottles you could buy. And the CVS employee was saying something about, well, you know, the police are an exception. They can get as many as they want. And I walked out the door. Today I'm looking through the booking photos for the county jail, and I noticed this guy there. He was apparently arrested for violating the social separation order by getting too close to the police officer and to the attendant at the register in order to question why the police officer was being allowed to buy 12 bottles of Purell while he was only allowed 2. And anyway, his name ironically is Miranda. And you can see the link to my Instagram on the description and booking photo. In the meantime, I was out on the street last night until 5 a.m. I didn't see any police. I think they were all in Dunkin' Donuts drinking coffee or something. I didn't see any police. There were very few people out on the street. There were homeless people out here. There were homeless people sleeping on the sidewalk. Nobody bothered them for violating a curfew. But then the curfew is unenforceable because the governor met with the mayors and declared uniform regulations, which did not include a curfew, throughout 4 counties before the mayor of Miami Beach said, we're keeping the curfew, the heck with them. And anyway, they were not enforcing curfew. They were enforcing social distancing regulations while it was light out. But after it was dark out, I saw couples walking down the street arm in arm. I don't know if any of them were harassed, but I guess they weren't, because I didn't see any police out all night. The only police officer I saw was the one guarding the construction site on 14th Street by Walgreens. And he never got out of his car. So I had no audits last night, even though I was looking for a cop watch. And That's the way things are here in Miami Beach as of April Fool's Day, and this is not an April Fool's joke. I'm dead serious about everything that I've said so far. Now, as far as the stimulus package goes, I read today on the AP Wire that Hilton Hotels today received $12.4 billion from the stimulus package. Yes, that's right, $12.4 billion in order to cover their revenues through April 30th that they've lost because their hotels have been shuttered. Worldwide. Okay, now when the hotel was ordered shuttered by a foreign... When the hotel's located in a foreign country and it's ordered shuttered by a foreign government, why is the United States government responsible for compensating them for their revenues? They would only pay taxes on the portion of, on the profits that were returned to the United States, which means they have to make payroll, pay their utility bills, etc., pay all their contractors, in order to, before they return any taxable money to the United States, because Hilton is a United States-based corporation. However, they are being compensated for 100% of their lost revenues for hotels in other countries. Now, those other countries, I'm sure, have no requirement for them to be paying their staff while the hotel is shuttered. The United States, according to the stimulus package, has no requirement, and Hilton, in fact, is not paying their employees while the hotels are shuttered. Those folks now have to file for unemployment and will receive $1,200 out of the same stimulus package each. But they have to wait 2 weeks before they can file for the, they have to be unemployed for 2 weeks before they can file, and 3 weeks, it's another week after they file before they receive a check. And that means their first unemployment checks, which amount to half of their salaries, are going to be 3 weeks off. The $1,200 from the stimulus package is going to be 3 weeks off. And these people making close to minimum wage have to deal with no income for 3 weeks, while the Hilton Hotels gets paid in advance for lost revenues because they received the money today for lost revenues through April 30th. Now, they are receiving a portion of that money for hotels overseas, and then they only have to pay taxes on the profits that they return to the United States, but they are receiving 100% of the revenue. How do we audit that? That's insane. To pay a corporation for money they lost overseas that would never have been returned to this country or taxed in this country. And to pay them in advance. Let's say they have a hotel in Rome. I don't know if they do or they don't. If Italy were to allow that hotel to reopen tomorrow, they still get to keep the money they got for that hotel being closed through April 30th. And don't have to pay taxes on 100% of it. Meanwhile, their staffs that are out of work here are going to have to pay taxes on 100% of the unemployment compensation and the stimulus that they receive on April 15th of next year. Anyway, the link to my Instagram if you want to see Miranda's picture is in the description.